What's the cruelest prank you've ever seen? A friend of a friend in high school had her boyfriend pretend that he died. He had one of his friends call her saying he had died in a car accident and had someone else calling up pretending to be a doctor from the hospital. She was hysterical. Later that day, after she kept asking the fake doctor which hospital it was so she could be there, she found out it was all prank to see if she cared. Horrible. Anyway, they broke up. To this day it's the nastiest prank I've seen in person. I was once prank called by someone, a classmate presumably, and they told me they were going to kill my best friend who was in the same class as me. It was really ducking weird. The school never figured out who it was. They just asked if my friend had any enemies. Bro, we are 11. In 6th grade I opened my locker and a note from the boy I had a crush on fell out saying he liked me too. A bunch of girls in my grade were there when I found it and were super happy for me, or I thought they were. When I went to the boy to ask him about it, he said he didn't write it, and the group of girls who were there when I found the note had written it. I turned around and sure enough they're laughing. But it crushed me. Not that the boy didn't like me back, but because I didn't think these girls I'd gone to school with since 1st grade were that mean. A couple weeks later the group played a similar joke on one of the girls who was actually in on the prank against me, and I got a genuine apology from her after she realized how bad I must have felt. None of the other girls ever apologized. In high school, someone made a pipe bomb and sneakily threw it into a metal trash can. One of my friends unknowingly walked by when it exploded and blew out his eardrum. The trash can looked like a peeled banana afterward. That person was ratted out and expelled. Edit kid was arrested afterwards. Saw him 10 years later working at a car wash. All of this happened in 1997. Prank war going on in between two houses that were next to each other in San Diego, CA circa 2014. My cousin lived in one of the houses and this happened when I went to visit him a few years back. House 1 pulled a prank that led to a member in house 2 being late for his first day of work. It was collateral damage, but the guy ended up getting fired for it. Guy who lost his job came home furious. He then took a 15-pound medicine ball and painted it to look just like a soccer ball. He tossed the medicine ball into the front yard of house 1 and waited. When he saw the guy come out of the house he yells, "Hey Josh, can you kick that ball back over here?" Dude proceeds to take a running start and square up and kick the soccer ball with every ounce of strength he had. Poor bastard went down almost immediately in tears and screaming. Ended up breaking 3 bones in his right foot. Just brutal. A group of girls at my high school told a girl that they were hanging out at one of their houses at 9 near a train station. But they really just made up a time and place that would make her stranded at the last train stop with no more trains home. My so-called friends had my mom drop me off at a mall, and we hang out until nearing my bedtime. Mind you, this was back when there were pagers for the generation that grew up with smartphones. Back before cell phones were something everyone had they used to be a pager. So I asked my friends when we are going back home cause my mom has talked to their mothers about someone dropping me off home. My parents both worked. Anyways, they decided to tell me that their mom will pick them up from this store and I should go ahead of them. They left and I was a 12-year-old lost kid in a mall with no parent. Luckily one of the male school bullies saw me and was like, "Oh, I nerd, what are you doing late?" And I just broke down crying. Kid just dropped the bullying and went, "Oh I, what happened, Ann?" According to my parents, I just blabbered everything IJT, and he told me to wait till he found a phone and paged my dad while calling his mom and telling her what happened. Needless to say, they got a frantic father going, "What the heck happened?" And the girls said they told their mom that I saw my uncle and left with him. But to be honest, me and the bully became best of friends. Edit, my parents thought I was kidnapped when they called my uncle, who said he hasn't been on shift in that area. A friend of mine faked her suicide to get back at her boyfriend for April Fool's Day. I had helped her without knowing she was going that far. Her boyfriend had called her a slut and dumped her when she told him she was pregnant. Don't miss living in college dorms. Don't miss either of them. Someone asked a guy to be her boyfriend. He said yes, and the next day she invited all her friends to tell him that she did it as a joke. When I was 16, I had a crush on a boy a couple years older. I got a call on my birthday and he asked me on a date. I was so excited and said yes, only to hear laughter. It was the father of one of my classmates, who also knew my family and parents. Who the F does that? I have kids of my own now, and the immaturity of it still astounds me. In college, at the end of the year, a club I was in had a roast of the outgoing seniors. My friend running the roast couldn't come up with anything for one of the guys, let's call him Ben, to drum up ideas. He called a bunch of Ben's close friends also in the club and asked them for things to make fun of Ben about. Thinking this was a confidential conversation, they proceed to absolutely lay into Ben. The guy is seriously lame. Honestly, when I'm talking to a girl and he is there, it is supremely awkward. My friend simply recorded that whole conversation and played it outright for Ben's section of the roast, mortifying Ben and all his friends simultaneously. Friend of mine had a crush on his co-worker. It was sort of an open secret. His manager tried to help him, offered advice, some things to say, small gifts she might be into, etc. What no one knew at the time was that said manager and said co-worker had recently started dating and hadn't told anyone yet. So he meant it as a prank on his new girlfriend to be put into these awkward situations. But my friend's feelings were really hurt when it all came out. Any prank involving pretending to ask someone on a date that I witnessed in my youth group. It was pretty common, everyone had it happen at least once, and it happened to me twice, but both times I found the guy repulsive and told them so. One time in middle school, my friends learned about my crush during lunch, and in the same ducking lunch they asked her out on my behalf. Even though I told them not to, I had to go up and say that they were lying to her in front of her and her whole friend group. And it was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. Probably the most pissed off I've ever been as well. I don't know the person, and yet everybody knows the kid. But at my school, he'd unscrew the razors of handheld pencil sharpeners and then try to discreetly cut people's forearms and legs. What he'd been trying to accomplish isn't this is just twisted, make the people's parents think they'd be cutting themselves. Whenever the victim went to try and tell the teachers, they'd think the same thing. Shit went down when the person he'd been constantly targeting beat the shit out of him. Victim was put to juvie. He got out practically free, and now he uses needles to poke holes into people. He's not a phlebotomist or tattooist. Last I heard from high school, incidents like the same happened, but with needles. Though, he's been way more discreet about it. Nobody knows who's doing it, other than me. Killing a farmer's cow is some sick joke. The cow was not a meat cow either, it was the farmer's beloved pet, and he pet it, and fed it, and played with the friendly cow each and every day. The farmer sued the kids who killed the cow, and he won $70,000 and $20,000 for emotional upset. Stay winning, kings. The cow was an old bull. It was the most friendly cow I have ever seen. It was not even neutered, and had really big horns, and loved sitting next to the farmer and just graze next to him. Edit: the kids did not necessarily kill the cow, but forced the old bull to walk upstairs. Cows can walk upstairs, but their anatomy is not built for it, and it's extremely painful for them to do so. The old bull broke its front left leg and bellowed in pain for 10 minutes. The farmer had no choice but to shoot and kill his own pet that he has had for the last 8 years right then and there on the stairs. The kids pled not guilty in court, but they were forced to pay for it all. The bull was a Texas Longhorn. Common in some areas, but rare where we both lived. It was really sad to see the bull gone from the farm. I was neighbors with the farmer and he would always invite me over to play with the animals and feed them and everything. In middle school, a girl came up to us on the playground and told this dude to go see the principal. He's looking for you. He got a call that your mom died. Then as soon as a dude ran away, she told us all she just made it up. It was ducking horrible. This happened to me. 7th grade during Valentine's Day, we had candygrams and cutesy stuff we could send to our friends, and obviously middle schoolers are sending them to their crushes. They would receive these candygrams during a class period as someone came by dropping them off. You could write a little message and then who it's from. I got one from this guy friend I liked and went up to him the next period and brought it up and said it was really cute and thanks. He looked a little confused, but was like, no problem. I felt kind of dumb after that and walked away, just to find out the next day that it was one of my friends who sent it to me and just put his name on it to make it seem like it was him. I mean, at least he was nice enough to go along with it, because he was just as confused. The first time I met my brother's new girlfriend, she pulled me aside and started crying. She told me that she was pregnant, but my brother wasn't ready to tell anyone. She asked me to check up on him cause he was really nervous. A couple days go by, and I texted her to see how she was doing, and if my brother was doing okay, and if they needed anything. She asked me what I was talking about. I said the baby. She replied, "Oh, you believe me? I was only joking. I'm not pregnant." I can't believe you fell for that. This wasn't some teenager either. She was 30. Yes, I told my brother. Yes. He still ended up marrying her. Almost 10 years later I still refuse to trust her. Good. Never trust her. Good first impression, laughing my butt off. You've just reminded me. I had a girl at work come up to me crying I was a shift manager because she was pregnant and needed advice on what to do. She told me she didn't want anyone else to know and could I keep it to myself. Later on it turns out she'd been going around telling various people to see who would actually gossip about her and that it was all a test to see who was trustworthy. Thankfully for me, I'm not a gossip. But what a bitch. I was glad when she left. If I ever see her around, she always tries to act super nice and chatty to me. Duck that. My friend stole my brand new set of car pics and switched all the caps. It ruined some of the markers. Because of color bleeding, I retaliated by dumping glitter in his backpack. An entire little container. Needless to say, we don't talk anymore. Edit, because I just remembered another detail. He switched the caps the first time. The second time, he switched caps. And even some of the tips. Best part, a teacher watched him do it and said nothing. Though, she did warn him. I would definitely get revenge. Well, I ended up with a referral for that glitter, and when talking to the principal, I told her what he'd done, adding in that he also stole my school lid for more than 2 days, and he got a referral too. Our detention together was amazing. Also forgot to mention he sexually harassed me a couple times because I'm gay, and he thinks that's hot. Anyways. Happened to me. Was at my first school dance in middle school. Was always the shy kid. So I was surprised when one of the popular chicks came to ask me to dance. I said no, because I was shy. But I was elated that I got asked. A few minimums later I'm in the bathroom stall and a few kids come in and start talking about how they paid her $10 to ask me. And if I said yes, she would have just tripped me and made me look dumb. I never went to another dance all throughout middle and high school. Even prom. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.